except for Brubbba and Darkest.
Oh boy, though, what a rise up from Noerum. From coming in 8th in their first game to 2 firsts in a row. That is a hell of a run to go on. As I said, this game, I think, will be a little bit of a refresher for our players. Given the fact that almost guaranteed for the most part to be able to get through to checkmate situation, it actually leaves us in a position where we should be focusing on our lower points players to see if any of them can pull off a surprise.
And weirdly enough for Noerum, he is consistently inconsistent in terms of his results. Pretty much the entire tournament, it seems like he's gotten 8th and 7th or 1st and 2nd. It was the case in day 1. He got 3 first places in a row and then almost didn't make it to day 2 because he had worse showings in those last 3 games. And day 2 was very similar. He was just kind of always kind of a roller coaster between 8th and 1st throughout all that day 2.
I mean, that's the thing, as a player who does have that inconsistency, tournaments really are a very fascinating place to find them. Because, on any given day, you've never got a guarantee, no matter how good you are, of winning. But if you're a player who can pull off these kind of miracle plays, and the dice, the coins just flip your way in a particular game, if you do it enough times in a row, suddenly you're winning the whole thing.
And we'll see if SwellerTiger's game or play pattern or play style changes in this game, because it's wildly different to start a game of TFT and need to think about winning, not just top 4ing. You have to win. You have to try and find the most high roll opening, the best early game to try and put yourself in a position to win out the lobby entirely. In last set, we had obviously things like mercenaries that could put pretty much, you could go directly into that play style and try to force it to have a very, very strong late game. In this set, it's a tiny bit harder to try and go for a 1st or 8th kind of play style.
Yeah, I mean, oh dear. We've apparently, with our hearts and minds, we have drawn together the augments to show us exactly what these players are capable of. All bets are off, Panda.
So, high roller, stand at 3?
Do it.
No, don't do it. That's the the augment does say high roller, but it's not exactly what it will end up producing for you in the case that you do have to high roll this game for SwellerTiger. He needs to get that first. Instead, it will be the Thieves Gloves coming through, the immediate board strength, so opting for a win streak angle, getting as much power onto the board as possible. All these extra items might help him do it, and a Sejuani 2 especially might help him do it in this case as well.
Yeah, I do like the setup here. We've seen a lot of good, different approaches to the game with the early guild setup. I mean, wow. We talked about the Mystic from before being a really powerful augment in the later game. Well, won't be doing a ton for now. I mean, with the setup that Volt has got right now, we can easily see the Mystic 2 coming in pretty darn early.
Mirage Crest for Deisik, trying to run it. Getting that Deja last game, it did work quite well with the Whisper's Emblem. Now trying to run maybe a more standard Mirage comp at this point in this game. 4. Did you check out actually what the Mirage trait was, Peter?
No, I didn't quite catch that one, but hopefully we'll get it popping up in a second. Because, yeah, of course, we're looking to see if we can get some more Dejas in the mix. So just a little note as well, if you do see something that looks like a little helmet icon on our players here, which will be certainly much more the case in the games to come, that is the checkmate icon. So players marked that are in a position to win the entire tournament. Of course, we're getting a lot more of those in what will presumably be the next game. This time, it's just SwellerTiger.
And we'll see now if Volta leans into that mage chart once again. For now, it's just guilds and trainers has that Nomsy online, trying to scale it up, level it up as quickly as possible as we move into the late game. Of course, mage almost always has Nomsy online as well, because you have that Heimerdinger, who is the best unit in the set, as we saw before, and also you have that Lulu. We'll see if that's going to be the route that Volta takes. He's played a lot of AP already in this day 3, and he's in contention for those 18 points in this game, currently sitting at 17. So it's been going well for him playing this kind of angle.
All right, so as of course we get further on, do take the chance to check out the TFT Forest command on the Twitch. Give you a chance to go and buy yourself a tree to call your very own best friend and save the planet at the same time. If you get up to 1,000, then 1,000 more will come to grace the Earth as, this could be the darkest timeline.
I think we should have an uh-oh counter because it seems like all day long. Just all I'm saying. We had Whisper's Emblem last game. We have Revel Emblem this game. Deja is going to be the star of the show once again. But Darkest has to get the comp online, has to find as many Revels as possible, and the Deja early on to try and stabilize. It's not as easy as it looks. Dawnbringer's Determination is going to be the Mirage, so something to consider as well for the late game.
We've certainly seen it in previous taunts doing exceptionally well with Nunu providing a ridiculous level of frontline. We've seen a little bit of it in the previous days as well. Mirage definitely feels like it's been taking a little bit less priority, but maybe this will be the game for it.
And Revel Emblem, just to remind viewers at home, used to be, I'll be honest, incredibly broken. You know, it was an insta-pick when you had this prismatic option at the start of the set. Things have changed, levers have been pulled, and it is no longer an insta-win as it was before, but it is a very, very strong augment pickup when paired, especially with Deja.
Oh, for sure. Every single set of auto attacks, every single, cast the Wind Blast will send the rockets flying. It is terrifying to see happen. We'll see how Darkest does, because again, Darkest coming into this one with 8 points, still won't be able to get into a checkmate position even if they were to win this lobby. But it would be a valuable step for them to get into a position where that's even possible, if not perhaps likely.
One thing to note, Skarambez has picked up Living Forge, so I'm going to be able to kind of scale into that late game once he gets, more of those fantastic items as we go later and later. Not going to be as strong now, because of course that means that you've only really gotten half of the value, or a part of the value from this augment in the stages 2 and 3, but has a chance to hopefully stay alive into the late game and hopefully become stronger and stronger as the game goes on.
I certainly wouldn't mind seeing that item set on the Xiaoyu later on. But for now, we've got a decent selection of bruisers to keep the front line afloat. Of course, for Skarambez, they would like to be up in a much healthier position so they can get the maximum value from that Living Forge. Because, of course, the most important part of having a Living Forge, Panda, is you've got to be living.
But it makes sense. This is, again, what we talked about with leaning into the augment you pick up. He knows he picked up a prismatic augment and only got some value from it, so instead going to say, hey, I'm weaker than most players, probably. I'm going to try and lose streak, work on my econ instead, and it seems to be working out for now. A 3-loss streak becomes a 4 after this loss. Has lost quite a bit of HP, yes, but the econ's looking fantastic coming into Krugs.
And for Noerum then, we do see them brocking out the mage early on. I think, honestly, Volta's been doing a lot of work in this tournament, or particularly today, in trying to persuade people of moving down the mage route just a little bit more aggressively than they have been previously.
If I was a player and I looked to the right now to the standings and saw SwellerTiger on a win streak at 100 HP, I would start getting worried. These players are not doing the job they have to be doing in this game 4. Deisik as well saying, I'm also going to start sending a message. These players have been consistent all throughout this day 3, just absolutely dominant in every single game today.
See what Skarambez is up to. Up against Deisik here, who is feeling pretty happy with how things are going right now. Currently lurking in the darkness, but looking to try and bring everybody into light. They are going to be going down the Mirage route this game. We've already got the Mirage emblem. And of course, they've got a Nunu building up as well. Remember, it is going to be the Dawnbringers, so the very hard front line to put down at the best of times.
I love this Yone just standing menacingly saying, yeah, my friends have got this, but finally joins the battle. Senna gets another ult off, but still going to be taken down here in Skarambez. Completes his mission, gets that 5-loss streak, 66 HP. A bit worse off than I think he would hope to be. It is quite low in terms of the HP, but hoping to possibly stabilize in this stage 3.
Yes, so just touch back on what you were saying before. Yeah, we've got Volta, Deisik, and Noerum all in position to go into the checkmate position in our next game. But SwellerTiger is undefeated as of stage 2. Now, a second place would not be good enough. So maybe that's what the rest of our top 3 performing players, or top 4 performing players, are trying to gamble on here, that if they can't make SwellerTiger go out in 8th, which I suppose would be ideal, that at least they can try and keep them from getting in first.
And not just that, if for some reason you can't stop the absolute Italian menace that is SwellerTiger, you want to get those 2nd and 3rd spots. So 3 players fighting for 2 spots. If it were to end here, I hope not, but if it were, these players are also looking to at the very least get more points than each other to get those 2nd and 3rd spots and make it directly into the Rising Legends regional finals later this set.
That's smaller as well as we turn our eyes further down the score table. Juso, the only player who's not guaranteed to get through to checkmate position next round, but has the possibility to do so. If Juso hits top 2, they'll not only stop, well, if they hit top 1, they'll stop SwellerTiger from ending the tournament, but also get themselves into that coveted position of making round number 5 be an absolute mess, because we would have ourselves 5 different players all trying to go for a checkmate.
And this win streak from SwellerTiger is not necessarily a surprise. We talked about it when he picked up these, the Thieves Gloves, that this is an augment that allows you to win streak. It allows you to get immediate board strength and try and play for a win streak. So all in all, it's not a massive surprise that this has happened this way. We'll see if he can continue it all throughout the stage 3. If he can, then he will be in a position to really work on his econ and leverage his HP, as we've seen so many times this tournament, to try and go fast 9 and try and go for the win.
Mirage Halot has got to be tempting here for Deisik. So you get into the higher bounds of the Dawnbringer, you get in the double heals to making it almost invincible for a period of time, and it will be further in. I think Deisik is really building up to a kind of an Omega level comp.
Yeah, cast pad as well for the Yasuo later down the line. I mean, a very, very good setup. Only really missing the early Deja. That's what really would set him up for a ton of success throughout the stage 3. But a Nunu 2-star also helps out quite a bit. Sejuani 2-star as well. So definitely a great position for Deisik. And I'm wondering who's going to lose the win streak here first. 3 players currently on fire: SwellerTiger, Deisik, and brubbba. And if they face off, someone is going to end up losing the streak.
It's honestly amazing that SwellerTiger and Deisik in particular managed to avoid each other so far, but it will be the 2 streakers against each other. The brubbba, even while stacking up, their Olaf is still putting that streak together. Of course, the Dana and the Olaf are not the menaces they will be in the later game. I do not see them standing up against this big pile of Mirages.
Yeah, I think Deisik is now going to be the strongest player in this lobby, even more than SwellerTiger with this current setup, with all the upgrades. He has rolled down gold to become this strong. He has purposely defended this win streak, and that is the playstyle that you have to identify as a top player in this region. You have to know exactly when to use up your resources, use up your gold to get stronger, and make sure you can continue these win streaks for as long as possible.
And I found it really interesting when we talked to Deisik yesterday, how we said, you know, they really didn't, he didn't have focus on any other of the players coming in here. I do wonder, you know, Deisik, which said, with their eyes on the world stage, still need to get past this particular barrier. As there we go. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the checkmate icon down there. Little helmet, which shows that SwellerTiger right now the only player capable of ending the tournament this round.
And Deisik and Sweller have both gotten stronger, but in different ways. Deisik has rolled a tiny bit on 6. Sweller has gone directly to 7 instead, adding an extra unit to his board. Facing off against brubbba, Brubba's streak is going to end in 2 ways. First against Deisik, and I think again against SwellerTiger here, because he is not quite as strong as these 2 players. But we'll see if I'm incorrect in this assumption. Aatrox still going off strong in that front row. Diana can't quite do enough to penetrate the Jinx and the Senna combination in that back row. And Lilia about to die. I think that's going to be another win for SwellerTiger. Continues the win streak. Both Deisik and SwellerTiger, 2 of the strongest players in this tournament. Also the strongest players in this game 4.
And we are headed for a collision here, but before we get to enjoy that, we'll be going to the carousel once again. We can see Sweller with a couple of items ready to go. Deisik has committed most of theirs in, so we're expecting to see most of the offensive components stripped out of this carousel. No! Actually, it looks like our players are valuing the defensive components more.
And both players trying to defend the win streak are trying to find item components they can slam. That's the whole point of this carousel. Usually, maybe you're thinking, okay, I have HP to work with. I don't want to continue the win streak. I've lost 1 or 2 fights. I can just start working on best in slot items. But in this case, they might prioritize just items they can slam right now, just in case they are able to face off in these next 2 rounds before the stage 3 PvE round. And Darkest has still not found the Deja. Swain is an okay item carrier for this Rebel Emblem until that happens, but never mind. Deja has been found, has been slotted in, and has been itemized. Rebel Emblem, Rage Blade, Hand of Justice seems to be the decision here for Darkest, and now, it's gonna go on Tristan instead, so hoping for maybe another attack speed item instead.
Alright, so we've got 3 Rebel, a good amount of Rebel to help enable up against Deisik. The win streak on the line. Will finally Darkest coming together be strong enough? That front line is not looking the most steady. It's going to be chewed through fairly quickly. Unfortunately, the Cavaliers, with all of those defensive stats, will be able to shrug off the Rebel Rockets. And this will not be the time when things will turn around for Darkest. Surely?
But the Yone was stuck for so long.
Okay, whew, that was almost heart-stopping.
Still enough, but unfortunate, cornering there where Yone could not really do anything. He was going to be the main damage dealer on the comp for Deisik, but still, Deisik continues the streak. SwellerTiger continues the streak as well. Are they finally going to face off in this 3-6 round? I mean, surely, right, Peter?
This is the most dramatic moment for them to face, of course, keeping those ludicrous streaks coming into Wolves. But we'll see. SwellerTiger up to level 7. This board is pretty darn strong. That Senna is going to hit like a truck, and this front line is tough as nails. I think it's too close to call.
And you can see all the item slams that SwellerTiger has gone through just to try and defend the streak for as long as possible. That not necessarily best in slot.
Here we go!
Last Whisper. Deisik versus SwellerTiger. Who's going to end up winning out in this fight?
It does look a little bit dicey. The front lines, of course, whichever one collapses first lets the Cavaliers go through. They're charging and charging. It does not look good for our Tiger Power, which, of course, is amazing news for Deisik. And the flood of Cavaliers hits the back line, and that will mean SwellerTiger misses out on a ton of cash. The win streak is gone, and that Deisik will remain triumphant 2 stages, totally undefeated.
And I don't want to be happy for a player's loss, but if there's any time to be biased, it is now. Every single player in this lobby, every single viewer watching wants this tournament to go on longer and is, hoping for SwellerTiger not to be the winner in this game 4.
Oh, absolutely. I think you can very much be forgiven for that. I mean, looking at what Deisik has put together here, it's no surprise, though, that they're able to put, out an incredible performance. We noticed before the Cavalier spats are in there as well. We've got the Mirage. Yeah, we're really well set up for Deisik to show us the peak performance the Mirage comp can even be capable of.
Still missing that Deja, of course. That would be a huge power spike as well, but I think, take it slow. He has so much HP to work with. He's still, very, very strong, and that was proven in that last fight against the other strongest player in the lobby. So he knows he can leverage his HP, leverage his strength right now to try and work on his econ and try and guarantee a first. We talked about it. He doesn't need a first. He's at 17 points, just need 1 point to make that threshold, but he wants to have that point lead to get at least the silver lining. If he doesn't win the tournament, he has that 2nd place or that 3rd place and can make it to regional finals.
Oh, you're right. It's very strategically smart from Deisik to try and get the first here, because, as I said, it covers 2 bands. It gets them the best chance of kind of getting through, even if they don't win the game to follow. As well as Tiger, though, will keep an eye on them if they can come back up the table, because they've certainly got to rebuild their board. Up against Noerum here, who is currently on 17 points. Again, just needs to play this game to get through to the next game with a chance of winning the entire thing, but having a little bit of a tougher time. Juso, we mentioned, they are the kind of dark horse candidate from this lobby who could potentially steal the way through to make the next round even more over the top.
And that was a Mage Spat mirror match in this last fight, and pretty much one of the most important emblems today. We've seen it in pretty much every single game we've casted on stream, which every game played as well, since we only have 1 lobby. And it has been quite transformative. We saw it there on a Navy on the side of Noerum, on Lulu for now, but can always go on that Sona once it's found later into the game. Heimerdinger 3, Chuso, he knows what he's doing. He knows to try and 3-star the most important unit in this set, try and get that stun duration up as well, and try and win fights here on a 5-win streak. So, I mean, this is not a coincidence, Peter. These players are finally figuring it out.
Let me pick your brain here a little bit, Panna, because we've been talking a little bit about Nomsy. We haven't gotten into detail. Of course, we know Nomsy with Trainer 3 can put out these amazingly strong shots. What are the kind of concerns of making sure Nomsy gets the shots off and gets to hit the most important units?
You want to try and have her, she hits a great diagonal, and usually you don't want to have her in the very front. You want to have her, a little bit behind so she doesn't get targeted. She seems like a very tanky and beefy unit. She is, but she isn't main tank. You can't itemize her with tank items. You want that silence in the front instead, and just allow Nomsy to be kind of a pseudo tank in the back or kind of middle side of the board, just dealing out those fireballs and getting as much units as possible hit, because you want to hit that AoE to deal as much damage as possible. And as we see there, damage leader. So Heimerdinger, the best unit, and Nomsy, the best companion. And
importantly as well, it's showing a strengthening of the lobby below SwellerTiger. They've taken another L as they start to plummet down the table. I mean, look at, SwellerTiger was unbeaten just a few rounds ago.
Players are starting to maybe look at his board, see what he's trying to do, and trying to grief him in some way by buying up units he's trying to go for. He was playing, this is kind of the bad thing about losing your win streak. If you've slammed so many items that are not necessarily best in slot, once you do finally lose that win streak, you might find yourself in a tough spot to try and go for those best in slot items, go for those best possible boards, which, as we're seeing here, I mean, the pike has been found. That's fantastic, but everything else, there's still a lot of 1 cost and 2 costs on this board.
So we do get to check in with some scale scorn friends, which we haven't seen a lot of these on our screens so far. Of course, we did see them a little bit before when these were much less itemized. Right now, though, Diana has built up to 2 out of 3 items. I believe that Olaf in the mix there somewhere has still got a way to go, but Pike doing a good job. What is this? The Tiger still not able to get the win. This does at least push Tiger's economy to start building up another board.
Pike does bug out sometimes, does jump a little bit more times than he should be allowed to do so. It's been happening the entire set, not sure what the exact issue is, but in that case, not quite enough to matter, still ends up losing the fight there for SwellerTiger. Someone that I think once he lost his loss streak, he's just happy to play for Econ, trying to level 9, quickly level 8, as we're seeing here, and have lots of gold to roll with to try and strengthen this board after this carousel.
So one player, of course, we need to be paying a little bit more attention to, though, because they've been quietly working their way down the scorecard much the same way as SwellerTiger has, is Volta, who's now on 3 HP in very last place. We've said they needed to only hit last place to graduate to checkmate position, but I don't think we necessarily expect them to take that quite as literally as they have.
And I mean, at some point, he had to finally fail, right? Volta has been leading the lobby in HP every single game this tournament on this day 3. And now finally it is the opposite. Instead, going to be 8th, going to be one little fight. You know, at this point in stage 4, any fight at 3 HP will be the end of it. Has no way to heal up, no Soraka, Accelerator. Has items to slam here, has found a Siphon, but is Siphon 1 really going to be enough?
No, where's that Corki we'd expect to be seeing? We've at least got the uplink to enable that Rise to eventually put out decent damage, but it's Trainer 3 up against the Revel Deja of Darkest, who of course is looking to try and recover their position in the competition. It's only little bits of damage coming through, and the Mystic's going to be able to shrug off some of that. But no, the Siphon with all the items will go down, and that's going to mean surely the end of Volta. I thought maybe a last-second cast from Rise could save it, but instead Volta will graduate to checkmate position in the next game. But as you said, they don't build up their points to contest for a points victory if they don't win the next game.
And the player that I definitely want to look out for is going to be Darkest. I think, you know, Revel Emblem on Deja is not something you can do every single game, but when you can pull it off, it's so satisfying for the player that's able to get this comp together, and so frustrating for everyone else because your units just get deleted off of the board oh so quickly. The setup is very, very good here as well. You have a fairly tanky front line. You have the 5 Revel online, which is what you want to maximize the damage from that Deja as much as possible.
Oh boy, we'll keep a close eye on them as we check out what Jutsu's up to again. Our Dark Horse Candidate, who has managed to find the Aoshin, which of course we noted before, has the absolutely ludicrous win rate up against, I believe this is going to be the ghost of, I want to say, yeah, that's going to be Deisik's ghost, of course.
Finally found the Deja.
Got all of the augments.
It took him so long. He lost some HP along the way. He lost his win streak, but now has a Deja. Does not have the Yasuo yet, I believe, but that's Aoshin. Going to be hard to deal with that. The cast comes through, the damage comes through, and Deja now free-falling in HP. A big loss here puts him down to... Oh, it was a ghost, never mind. But he still lost anyway, down to now 69 HP, Peter. Nice.
Took the high road, huh? I mean, what this does say, of course, with Deisik, even if they didn't, I don't know if they necessarily saw that happening, but what it tells us, at least, is that we've got a comp on the board that can put out enough damage to overload the healing capacity of the Dawnbringers, and that's very bad news for Deisik.
No surprise. Mage Spat, Aoshin, Revel Spat, Deja, 2 very scary dragons that transform when they have the right emblems on them.
All right, so coming to the Treasure Dragon, we see Juso, who again needs to win this lobby on a 9-win streak and 58 gold, eclipsing everyone apart from Deisik, who's managed to at least build up their bank balance while dropping further down the table. Everybody else, though, is looking a little economically rough. Skarambez and Sweller at least have got their streaks to fall back on.
And Chuso, you know, fully itemized the Ao Shin, but really just trying to take attention away from the true carry, that Heimerdinger 3-star with the Chalice on board as well. If he wins this game, we all know the real reason, Peter, why that's the case. But as you mentioned, SwellerTiger had a very strong start, picked an augment with a double Thieves Gloves that allow him to win streak, but all of a sudden has fallen all the way down to 29 HP. Every single other player in this lobby, I think now, much more comfortable that this game won't be the last game of this tournament.
It won't be over until the final bell rings, at least on the SwellerTiger's game. But it's a dangerous position to be in for Tiger. I think being up at the top of the table maybe was as much as they've been drawing attention as a potential winner, drawing even more attention by keeping themselves up on the very top. The fall has been dramatic. The Deja, though, from the Deisik will cut through. We have got the healing coming out from the Soraka, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough because this Deja is punching for real, and Deisik is managing to arrest their climb at 69 HP and stay on top of the table.
As game 4 doesn't conclude just yet, but comes, into the end, into the last few bits, the stage 5 and stage 6, Deisik seems to be the only player out of those very strong 3 players that started off today that has held on to that kind of lead in terms of the dominance in this tournament. Still now first, whereas Volta already eliminated in 8th place, and SwellerTiger, as you mentioned, free falling to that bot 4, now currently in 6th with only 20 HP, and doesn't really have a great projection either. That's really the worst part about it.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that the loss streak is at least good, but I mean, with the ball they've got right now, you'd think they'd be doing a little better, but with Juso, I mean, this is the worst player to be running across at this point. We've got the build-up for the absolutely massive cast, and Siphon doesn't seem to have a huge amount of interest in getting onto the ocean anytime soon.
Most of the board is dead, so Gunblade won't be really as effective here, but the double cast comes through. I think it's going to be enough to take down most of the units, most of the damage carries. If one cast can't do it, 2 definitely can. SwellerTiger now down to 9 HP. Noerum down to 4. All the greats are falling in this game 4, except for Deisik. He's still staying strong in that first place at Deja. So strong here with 8 Mirage online, but not quite strong enough to take down the Xiaoyu. The combo, the flurry of punches is enough to take down the Deja.
Well, no, as well, that was to Skarambez, who's now on top of the table with the win streak going. That Xiaoyu setup is definitely good enough, and I think for what Deisik's got going on here, we don't necessarily have an absolute ton of burst to get through that Xiaoyu. We've got a ton of sustained damage, but I don't know. I think Deisik might have a little bit of trouble in finishing this game out.
I mean, the loss there was expected. He still has a lot of gold to roll with. He still hasn't really hit that power spike button just yet. He has a lot of HP to work with, not on a win streak any longer, doesn't have to really fight to maintain it, and instead going to go for that fast 9, find the Yasuo and get that cap spat on it. We still see the cap spat on Leona, so he still has a lot of upgrades he can be hitting, just has to wait until the right time to hit them.
Up against Noerum, who right now is on the 17 points as well. So again, not devastated if they get knocked out relatively early, which seems to be on the cards. Deja does cut through most of the field, but Siphon is remaining more or less untouched, and it's going to take quite a while to put them down.
The Siphon went the wrong way, but I still think it might be enough, and that's going to be the case with Sona coming in as well. The double cast, the Mage Spat, coming in clutch for many players in this day 3, and the stun stops the Deja from leading too much damage and allows Siphon to end that fight.
And the big news, of course, SwellerTiger has been taken out in 7th place, which means we will be seeing a Game 5, a Round 5, in which we will have at least 4 different players competing for the chance to end the competition and call themselves Superbrawl champion.
It's starting to look like this tournament is scripted. The players that we need to do badly are doing badly in this game 4. We heard from production that if Skarambez wins this game and Chuso gets 2nd, we'll have 6 players who have a chance to win it all in that game 5, which will make it extremely exciting for pretty much everyone involved. And Skarambez and Chuso are in good positions now to find those results. Currently 1st for Skarambez and 3rd place for Chuso.
Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get together the most ridiculous timeline where we've got everybody up for grabs. Of course, do remember, it's not completely wild in the last game. We still have 2 of our players getting through to the regional finals based off their score. So, as Panda's been saying, the positions do still matter, even if the checkmate, I imagine, is going to be front and center of so many players' minds.
Siphon dangerously close to the Ao Shin, but not quite close enough to get that bite off. And Ao Shin with a double cast, again, I think it will be more than enough damage to seal the deal to win this fight. Can't quite take out the Siphon, but the Siphon once again does not hit the right target. Doesn't hit any target at all, actually. Gets bounced up into the air and killed off Silas and the poor ZZ Rot. Tanky, but not going to do enough to withstand the damage coming through.
Spare some sympathy for our poor Ozerot minion. Just wanted to start a new life, but unfortunately was denied. For brubbba, on a win streak right now, we have finally got to the singularity point with Diana. She's up to 3 stars with 3 items, still 2 away from hitting through to Olaf. We haven't gotten any scale scorn emblems in this game, but we have got a surprising amount of Cavaliers.
And with Cavalier Unity, that's going to be fantastic as well to get all these extra stats onto Diana, onto Olaf, and make these skill scoring units even stronger. But still, you haven't quite spiked up to that Olaf. 3 brubbas seems to not be so happy to face off against Darkest Tier. We'll see if this front line can melt fast enough for Deja to get stopped in its tracks before she can deal so much damage to the firecrackers. It seems like it will be the case. Look at the speed on this Diana.
Boy. There's a lot of horsepower under that hood. I think that's the thing. When everyone's a Cavalier, they start glitching around the field as they run from place to place. I mean, it's such a great, solution to having those melee units and, getting access to all parts of the board. Yuso, I think I finally met their match.
Chuso finally has found, I guess that Yuso somehow was able to sneak into the range of the Ao Shin quickly enough so that not even the first cast could come through, and that's one way to stop the double cast, allowing, just killing the Ao Shin off before even the first cast can conclude. We are now coming into the stage 5 PvE round. Most players have hit their capped out boards. Deisik has gone level 9, as we mentioned earlier, and he will try and get that Yasuo cap spat online.
Oh boy, what was you saying? Yuso Skarambez. We're still in with the possibility of seeing them in the next round as checkmate available for them. Gargoyles coming in for Yuso will be certainly a pretty worthwhile addition to the front line, because right now there aren't a ton of items on that front line to keep Ao Shin safe.
The biggest upgrade is the Ao Shin 2, of course. Needs to roll for it, and he finds it. The double upgrade can sell up the Lulu if he chooses to. Upgrade the Ornn as well. And when you believe in Heimerdinger, everything is possible, Peter. You can find your upgrades when you need to. Brubba's the other player that was looking for that big upgrade for that Olaf 3. I'm wondering if he found it or not. We'll find out in these next few fights. Looks like he's just one off and hasn't been able to roll for it, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, he's got the HP. He's got the HP to hold on for a little bit longer. And the board itself is decent up against Deisik, who is still going to be a pretty big menace. That Yasuo in the center of the board will provide a lot of disruption. And of course, the Bard follow-up as well provides so much crowd control. There's no crowd control removal at all for these Scale Scorn. They are staying up for the time being, though. Diana being kept at bay by the Nunu, who's just refusing to die. Yasuo in the center. The disruption, I think, is just too much for the Scale Scorns to handle, at least without hitting full capacity.
And so fortunate for Deisik there, either through sheer luck or through scouting and positioning, was able to have it so that the Diana jumped on the opposite side of the Deja, allowing to Deja to cast and deal damage untouched throughout the entire fight. And with the stall you have in that front line with a Yasuo Capspat and a Nunu, I mean, you can buy so much time for Deja to scale up.
Time is definitely not on Brubba's side as they make their last few moves down to 7 HP. Darkest on 1 HP. Surely we see another elimination coming in, and we will then have at least our top 4, maybe even our top 3.
This is the problem for these Ao Shin and Deja players, that this Olaf and Diana board is very scary for them because they can get their carries sniped out as soon as the fight starts. Ornn thrown up into the air, but the Ao Shin on the opposite side, if it's able to cast twice, it's going to deal so much damage to this backline especially. We'll see if the Ao Shin can do it. First cast comes through, damage comes through. Forky and Deja not quite taken out, but now they are, and that should be a win for Darkest. Darkest gets eliminated rather, and it will be the Aoshin gets the win there. Brubbba still alive, Chuso still alive.
And it's a real shame as well with, picking up a legendary comp like the Rebel Deja setup. I'm just, I'm thinking that maybe that just wasn't the way to go ultimately, though it did start off pretty darn well. Brubbba stays alive, still one Olaf away, searching desperately, but again denied. Actually will sell down to the bone here because they know their time in this game is almost up.
Quick reminder, Skarambez has to get a first place to be in contention for those 18 points after this game is over, and Chuso needs a second place if I'm not mistaken. So both players trying their best to end out this stage 6 with the best results possible.
That would certainly be the wildest timeline. Here we go, Brubbba trying to keep themselves alive. One shot from dead. At least Diana does get to the right side of the board this time, but we've got Xiaoyu in the center, providing a whole lot of disruption. The Bard buys even more time. Yasuo fighting Olaf right now in the middle. Continuous knockups. Diana is working her way through the back line though, more or less untouched as a Yasuo is going to drop, and now it's all on the shoulders of Xiaoyu and Nico.
So it's gonna get one more stun off, it'll be huge, but not quite enough. The ZZ Rot minion comes out, but Xiaoyu targeted now by the 2 OP skill scoring units for this comp for Brubbba. Brubbba has one more round now to find the Olaf 3-star. There's an Olaf on the carousel with a Shojin. Will Brubbba race towards this, trying to find the upgrade, or will he go for an item instead, hoping the shop odds will benefit him? Looks like he's gonna play it safe here.
I mean, you just can't take the risk. Brubbba, is currently on 9 points, so they need to finish as high as possible to give themselves the micro chance to get through and win the competition. There is the guaranteed Olaf 3. We have reached the promised land for Brubbba. Now we just need to see how far it will take them.
Now positioning is what will matter the most. Diana has to jump onto the right side. Chuso, the current HP leader, is playing an Aoshin carry, which means that Aoshin can be in big trouble if Diana jumps onto him right away. He has some great damage items. He casts twice, yes, but if he can't even get his first cast off, he doesn't have the time to do so without a Shojin being built on him, he might be in big trouble.
We're going to split the difference here with Diana. So jumping straight up the middle will get pulled back into the center of the fray, keeping our friend Deja from taking any aggro. More seconds which for the Mirage to build themselves up, and it doesn't look like anyone's going to get onto Deja until pretty much the end of the round, if that.
Which is not an ideal thing to see here. Pyke jumping, getting the resets. Yasuo now trying to stall out for as long as possible, and it looks like it'll be for long enough. Olaf 3 versus Yasuo, Bard, and Deja. I am not sure this Olaf can win this fight. The execute comes through, and Brubbba gets eliminated in 4th place. Wasn't in contention for 18 points even if he were to get it first. So all in all, I think it's not a bad result. Still top 4, still gets those points, and still puts himself in a spot to get those 18 points next game.
And also in big news, Skarambez goes out in 3rd place, which means they will not be in position to fight for checkmate. Juso, though, they are guaranteed to make it there now, as you said. They only need to hit top 2, and they've already done that. Now at this point, they just need to prove themselves that they can take a first, because in the round coming after this one, hitting first is everything.
Aoshin versus Aoshin, the 2 strongest 5-cost dragons in the game. Once you reach this stage 6, almost stage 7, but there's a double cast on the side of Chuso. That being said, massive Bartle, massive damage. The Gunblade finally coming in, healing up the rest of the team, and it looks like it'll be enough. There's just so much damage once this cast comes through. Deisik eliminated, so much HP lost in this fight, and Chuso, with Heimerdinger 3, takes the win, and also Aoshin 2, I suppose.
That's the only part of that comp even worth mentioning. The Heimerdinger 3.